Okay, the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Perry Local School District is called to order at 5:15 p.m. in the Tarbrook Center Conference Room. Roll call, please, Mrs. Kippa.
Mrs. Foley,
Here.
Mr. Leidig,
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Mrs. Custer. Here. And Mr. Welch.
Here.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, letter G, number 1, I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the employment of a public employee or official. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the board will enter into executive session at 5:16. Yeah.
Mr. Leidig.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Mrs. Custer. Yes. Mr. Welch.
Yes.
Mrs. Foley.
Yeah. Do you want to, should we go? It's only going to be,
No, you're good.
Okay. so we returned from executive session, obviously. Do I have a motion? No. Hold on,
We're in session.
we're in session. Okay, so the notice, am I reading it or you?
Whatever you would prefer.
Go ahead.
Okay, under idea, part B, funds request for public input, we have a notice. Perry Local Schools Office of Special Education invites the public to provide input on the district's application of IDEA, Part B, federal funds used for the education of students with disabilities. Input can be provided during the public participation portion of today's regular board meeting or by contacting the office directly at 440-259-9200. That concludes our notices, and that meets all the compliant pieces that we need for that.
Thank you. Any reports?
I've had an IT meeting, went over some things, that new Chromebooks for the 5th and 9th graders had all been distributed. Phone system, it was upgraded, but it should have a full system upgrade by the end of this year. Phase 1 of the surveillance has been upgraded. District hallway printers, I think you're either upgraded already or will be upgraded. And then I know some of the PII swapped out tablets for Chromebooks in 1st grade, I believe. Which will help out some of those kids. On-site backup systems were upgraded. Board of education desktops were replaced. So those are some highlights.
Thank you. Anyone else? Other committees?
No, we have instruction committee meeting tomorrow.
We have a safety meeting tomorrow as well.
Yes.
Right, Mr. Smith?
That's correct.
Thank you.
We did have a BAC meeting last night. Supervisory Council, where we reviewed our plan that we will be submitting to ODE. And we're excited about some adjustments that we're making in that plan. Dr. Malcheski was there last night, and also Mrs. Soder. And a part of the grant piece that they're working on is providing an arm of BAC that's going to be a student-led advisory council under the guidance of some business members in the community. And so the idea is for, they're going to meet on a monthly basis, and Chris Cioli had volunteered to attend those meetings along with them, and then come back and have a liaison that's going to report to our BAC meetings. So it's really exciting to have student involvement as we move forward in that plan. So we're making those adjustments. Also, Dr. Malcheski talked to this advisory council and showed and talked about the state of the schools piece that she will be doing at the East End Chamber of Commerce meeting next week, which talks about we had agreed with all the schools. So we're trying to be fair and make a good message that are aligned with all schools to simply talk about our career education focuses and the things we're doing. So obviously we're going to be mentioning those and our pre-apprenticeship and anything you want to mention about those pieces.
No, just that it'll be our first real announcement about the welding hub as well, and building some excitement for that.
Excellent. And as, Bob Busher had always requested a financial update. He's been on Business Advisory Council for quite some time. He is going to step down, and off that committee, and so we wish Bob Busher well. He sold his house in Perry and is now living in Concord, and they plan on going to Florida very soon. It's like the thing to do. And so we'll miss him, but in his honor, we kept it alive, and Jen Cable did a nice financial update about how things really did work in our favor this year in the biennium budget. And we were able to exceed our forecasted balances by quite a bit. Anything you want to add to there?
Pretty good. We're in a very strong financial position. No deficit spending in fiscal 23. Should avoid it in fiscal 24, possibly even fiscal 25, thanks to increases in the state funding. Anticipated interest revenue should double, and then attrition hopefully part of that. So,
Good, very good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So those were all committee reports. Now we have.
That was Business Advisory Council, yes.
That was, okay. So administrative update.
Administrative updates, real quickly, in the eyes of safety, we had talked about making the move to secure those internal bridge doors and put in a buzzer system. And originally we thought they wouldn't be able to be installed until around October, maybe any OEA day. But the parts did come in, and so after Mr. Smith checked with our administration, and so we're gonna begin installation tomorrow. So there will be some installers in the district in those bridge doors, and so we'll be installing those systems so that if you don't have a badge and you want to go through those bridge doors, you're gonna have to buzz and get permission from somebody that's gonna be looking at you on a camera, similar to when you come in the buildings from the external doors. Gonna add a little bit of more safety in our district. Today I just learned that the girls are CVC co-champs in girls golf. They won the tournament today, which congratulations to our girls golf team for that accomplishment. I heard, I wasn't able to attend, but Saturday I heard it was a successful Ridley run. There was quite a few people there, and it was a beautiful day. And so a nice event, and we appreciate all those who work to organize that and bring the Ridley run back, and very nice for our alumni and for our community members. And then tomorrow at 2 o'clock, all school pep rally. The first time we did this, it was such a great success. And because I think the elementary kids can be louder than any other part of our district when they come to a pep rally, we're bringing all those kiddos over to experience that. And again, a big thank you to the elementary staff and to Mrs. Stavarnat, because that's no easy feat to get those kids from the elementary all the way over into those stands and avoid any bee stings, hopefully, and all those things. And it should be a really good time. And so we're looking forward to it. And the weather's gonna cooperate. So will be good. And then lastly, we're very excited to have a special guest here this evening. Our maintenance supervisor, Mr. Jim Smith, has come in, and he's gonna provide us with, he does this on an annual basis, but not always in a public session at a board meeting. But since we're not having work sessions as much anymore, we thought we'd bring him in and during our administrative updates, and allow him to provide us with some information about the facilities and the plan, and all that goes into keeping this place in top form. So Jim, it's all you.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for having me. Before I begin, I must once again acknowledge, send out my acknowledgement and thanks to our entire support staff, from our custodial, maintenance, mechanical, IT, for what a wonderful job they do on a daily basis for the safety of our students, staff, and community members. They are the front line, and they have adapted and changed their methods upon request, and I think we need.
Just a fire alarm.
Right on cue for that. Sorry about that.
I'm used to it.
Yep, and, so they're actually the front line. They changed their methods and have done everything we asked of them, and I really appreciate it. I say they are the unsung heroes of our wonderful educational team, and I thank you. Okay. I'll point you to the packet and the agenda. Item number 1 is overall facility update. Some of this you've seen before. And agree with Dr. Compton, usually this is done in the sit down at a conference table, and not in this type of a setting, so I do the best I can. Safety, I'm not gonna read through all of this, but if there's any questions along the way, I welcome anybody to ask them now or in the future. But I do wanna go through the safety thing. The district safety and security items are maintained through planned, predictive, and preventive measures on a daily and routine basis. Our outside envelope of the building access control surveillance systems are monitored and maintained daily. Slip strips and fall items are diminished during a project utilized by contracted services. Storm deficiencies continue to be mitigated during summer capital planning projects. In that regard, the capital plan, which is item number 2, is this sheet here for everybody. We'll go to that. In that regard, the capital plan and almost fully covered by grant money was phase 1 of the surveillance project, which has been completed or it's nearing completion. We're still waiting on a faulty camera yet. You will see phase 2 is listed under FY 25. This will complete 100% of the district upgrade. As always, I will work with Mrs. Capo, on any grant money that may be available to offset the cost of this upgrade. Regarding life safety systems and notifications, and this is just for a point, I think we talked about this on our safety committee. We've experienced several delays in notification going to our monitoring company. Long lag times, we confirmed it with the fire department through central dispatch, and what happens is, we get an alarm, instead of it taking 30 seconds or 90 seconds, it's taking 15 minutes, that's just too long. So we've started to migrate over the dialers for fire and safety, and this is under the safety page you have here. Once we determine the delays, we expeditiously replace the faulted system with new cellular dialers. The unit of transportation is the same type of thing. That was upgraded in June of 2023 due to historic issues with phone lines and increased frequency of interrupted services. The units, these cellular units were replaced, which were not only necessary, but they eliminated phone lines. The payback period for cost of installation was 3.3 years on the state of 4 phone lines.
So on Friday, we had that false alarm, right? The fire alarm,
Yes.
and it was nuisance, or what was
We
it?
talked about that a little bit, we've had a couple of these, and they've been late at night, this one was, I think, 5:30 or so, roughly. 4:45, whatever it was. We have a couple heads that have faulted out, they'll be replaced on Thursday, but I'm just hoping that we haven't seen these types of alarms. Usually it's burnt popcorn in the microwave, or it's water that came from an air handler, or it's some other item that created it, a bird belt, you could say, faulty duct detector. But these were 2 devices in the elementary school that failed. Now, if they failed once, that's one thing, but then the second one failed, it was a redundant smoke head, so it can be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
At some point, though, the peripherals will have to be replaced. That's another issue.
Okay.
Electrical and mechanical, the district electrical and mechanical systems are fully functional and are sustained by planned predictive measures, thermographic scanning, preventive maintenance, and inspections. As you are aware, the district's electrical distribution for the youth campus failed on January 30th, 2023. Which was due to an underground feeder leg which faulted. This type of item is impossible to predict. However, it was quickly identified and rectified. And I thank the Board of Education for their swift action and support during that period. Our mechanical systems are kept in operation through a variety of operational methods. And as the equipment ages, we provide service and replacement apparatus and parts. Energy conservation. We'll talk about that a little bit, just because I know I get communications. You know, Jen gets questions, Jack gets questions, probably maybe even board members, or sales pitches. They come to me weekly. We implemented a decade ago the House Bill 264 energy conservation, okay? That House Bill took care of building envelope seal, water conservation, automation, temperature controls, domestic hot water, and outside air. It also addressed the new T8, T5 lighting technology. That happened. And what came next? LED lighting. Did you get a call recently about wanting to redo our facility? So LED lighting, then we moved out of that. We met the life cycles of the lamps. The price came down. And as you see, I'm gonna jump through a lot of the stuff that's on page 2, but you see phase 1 in 2017. 2018 was phase 2. 2019 was phase 3. For some, well, I don't know, 10-year cost savings of 172,000, 317, 400,000, and 270,000.
Now, one of the big savings, though, we were able to do this internally.
Right, so the cost of Jack knows this because all the outside companies say, we'll come in and do this for you for, what, 2.3 million?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Now, I know Madison did it for in the millions. I know other districts did it, paid them for the millions. And their payback period was 28 years. What was our payback period was 1 year, 2 years, 1 year. We did it internally. We did it a different method. I did it a different way. We waited a little longer than other folks because we could wait a little longer. Technology helped us, and then First Energy gave the rebates on top of that. Okay, but we had already upgraded ours to T5 T8s. That makes sense?
Yeah, we all know what T5 T8s are, Jim.
All right. Any questions regarding?
Saving 2 million makes sense.
I mean, I can go on and on about other aspects of, you know, commingling and everything else that we do, but I'm gonna move on to MSA. I think I reported last time I met with you on our MSA system. Okay. What year was it? So this system is our gas detection system, you may recall, for the district. And I'm gonna jump here. We had this system listed on the capital improvement schedule for replacement in FY 2023. However, it remains subject to be shifted depending on system operational factors and apparatus availability. Just last year, we located a new MSA 5800 master unit filled with control boards and power supplies. I asked Jen, Mrs. Cable, someone's missing. To place, we placed a bid on the unit and were successful in acquiring the controller. This purchase pushed the MSA upgrade out to at least 2029. You'll see it reflected in the capital plan. At the time I priced it back when we had the conversation, it was 200,000. It may be 250 because that would pay for that system. I'm less concerned about it now because we gained all the control modules. Building BSA, building automation system, that's what controls our huge boilers, our centrifugal chillers, every single unit ventilator in the district wide, circulation pumps, you name it. This system we talked about, and we started the migration and we did a phase. So we're running 2 different platforms right now. That maybe I'm going to my notes here. In 2019, the project was approved and required phase 1, which had a cost of $36,000. To replace the system at that time was $1.2 million. This was the first of multiple phase plan for the district and provided backup stock. The big problem we had, I'll stop there, is we're struggling, yes,
No, we don't. Go ahead.
okay. We were struggling to, the boards became obsolete and we couldn't purchase them. They searched the country for them. I bought up a bunch of boards and then they just dried up. So the only way to gain boards is to start to provide the upgrades to the new web-based platform that we have. When we did that, we start gaining stock, which extends the existing system. I think we're running on two different kind of platforms, which is not a problem.
Were we able to find the board?
We found some boards and we gained these boards through the phase upgrade. So when we migrated over to the new controllers, we're gaining stock for the rest of the system.
Were you shopping on eBay for those?
That was the one that Jen bid on.
Oh, okay.
That was for the NSA video. You know, we actually did, I think we looked at eBay for the two, but we couldn't locate. We might have located one, I think. In that system, so, in that regard, we have now done phase 2, the upgrade, pushed out phase 3 to FY 2027. And I'll tell you the stock we're sitting at right now, 11 20-point PCM boards and 17 10-point PCM boards. The other component that the tuck boards for the smaller units, they're still available. And we have a good supply of that. I'll turn your attention to the capital plan. When we talked about this, I think the last meeting is getting here, the elevator modernization project that was supposed to happen this summer did. It applies extreme conditions. And for Mr. Knightley, we now supply it and come in, so we're going to do it, it's going to extend out to the first and second. Surveillance was 314,000. We obtained 2 grants, one for 150,000 and then another grant for 150,000. The bridge store controllers, Dr. Thompson just spoke of, will begin tomorrow. That affords the secretaries in each location, elementary, middle school, and high school, see the person, fly them across the bridge, free flow access, but at the same time keep the campus secure. The welding lab, Betty Joe's the welding lab. So Betty Joe was able to get grants for a lot of the components. And then, you know, hey, we went into a quick bid so that we could meet the deadline for expenditure there. And you'll see on tonight's agenda a recommendation for base bid at alternates 1, 2, and 3 for the welding. And you know, that's paramount because there's increasingly we're seeing increased long lead times on equipment, especially electrical distribution here. Moving over to FY 25, I can go through and hit a couple items. We're working with Mr. Rockwell and Mr. Rowan. He's underlaid it in a wrestling room and mats that they have there. That we replaced. I had that finished drop district, and we had a unit truck I had listed out here for replacement. And you'll see in the forecast, the vehicle side of getting replacement forecast high. How far you want to go out of there?
Well, so basically, we're talking about, this is your 10-year plan, and you have some, standing items that you've always done, doors and hardware, painting and concrete repair.
Right.
Those are every year. Now, doors, 30-year-old doors, they're not making the parts anymore, so, I know that we have some very talented maintenance guys that are able to basically take apart other doors and store the stuff and are being able to keep us going. How long do you think that'll carry out in this 10-year
I
plan?
think right now we've in our contract of service is working on doors. So we have doors. I think folks in the school, we can't get that way. Biggest issue we'll have is in the winter time, when the freeze happens, and heat and salt and ice, you know, things get flooded and we'll have freeze stores that. I know there's a couple items on here I do want to go over. There's been, our scoreboard is going to become end of life. I've been working with TJ on that. That's in 2026, which is essentially summer of 25, and so fiscal year 27, we have the track resurfacing. We've done now a couple of repairs on the track, but it's due for resurfacing. It's a large number. This BAS stuff I talked about and the chiller controllers, we're looking at those as push items. Roofing, I guess, you know, it's always been a question. The roofing now is our West Campus, built 92, 93, 30 years. East Campus, 94, 95, 28 years. I had just had an assessment done on it. We do annual assessments. We had quarterly inspections, the cleaning of those roofs, and anything that does come up, we repair them immediately. So the seams are starting to, you know, show some wear. The membrane looks okay. Given that we're at the life cycle, especially at the West Campus, really the East Campus gives us more problems because of flat roof where we have arch roofs at the high school. That still being said, I have listed our architects to give us a full assessment of the roofs. When I get that assessment, I will bring it to Dr. Thompson for his approval. Just to move forward with assessment, that's all that is. Unless you need a second opinion, because it's a large number. In 2029, we've had some roof leaks here in this building. A lot of them were from backed up drains during excessive inclement weather. Where the leaves blew in, a storm came in, and when I got a call at, you know, 4 in the morning on Sunday, it's running in, okay? But the roof it's a 1961, 1961, 60-year-old building. And this building's, it will be due. I want to see how it holds through the winter. We'll see how many more leaks we get. But they're not all roof leaks associated with leaks you see inside the building on the ceiling tiles. That's just thing. I do have a current state term pricing from TIPS. You remember of it, John? TIPS?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we purchased other things from them. And I did also get, because the last time I think I reported, and if you look back in your data, the West Campus and East Campus roofs were at about, I estimated, $6.3 million. I have a current real life state term price right now for 6.9 million, and that's on fiscal year 29 and 30. We're going to see how it goes when we have this roof assessment done. We are not currently saving leaks. We did have an anomaly. There was a lot of communication over on the when we had that ice jam. Remember that? We had some leaks in the elementary classroom. But we've had torrential downpours since, no water. What happened was, and it happened all over the county, all over the state, especially the northern part. It was a slushy ice jam that didn't allow the drain, the storm drains on the roof to drain through. It plugged them and froze. I couldn't even get them safely on the roof to clear them. It was that slippery. And then it went up onto the wall where, you know, you wouldn't have to water protection. Any questions on this?
So for these bigger ticket items that we know are coming, we're financially planned for those. Like those aren't gonna be a big surprise where we suddenly like need to do something to come up with that money.
No.
Capital improvement money set aside for these items. And I do have a question, Jim. So the east campus roof, the west campus roof, so fiscal year 29, fiscal year 2030. Those are up above 3 million plus, right? So are those projections, like there's a possibility they might not have to happen then?
That's right.
Okay, this is worst case scenario.
At timing wise, yes. The
Okay.
price is, this is an August 2023 state term price for a Duralast roof. Now, not that we have to put Duralast up, there were many other different membranes out there. but we have used Duralast on Manchester West, transportation. I have experience in other facilities with it. Before we did it, and they called wells in 2007, you know, Avon Lake Schools, road departments, different, state departments use Duralast. I figured it would be kind of a good.
Yeah.
Best for us.
Okay.
Yeah, the goal is always to push, if we can push
Yeah.
typically.
Well, it sounds like you have, because of the way you've maintained everything. And decisions you've made along the way, you've been able to prolong some of the other big ticket items that. You thought were projected earlier,
We had, yeah.
you've
they're
been
all-
able to avoid them.
That's why you see the speed, it's just
Yeah.
all the time, and, you know, I mean, I'd like to put red arrows everywhere, or push arrows, but there's no sense in doing it, but yes.
Deeper in your packet, there's a more comprehensive list. This is
Oh,
just like
okay.
the working
Oh,
list.
this is-
And the goal in there, when he talks about end of life, you'll see, there'll be some items that will have -15. Where they're 15 years past end of life due to the ability to, you know, maintain and do preventive measures, so. We're getting the most out of our facility. And so, and I think you have plans of getting there eventually, but that's in the back of your packet.
So the other question that I get often, and I see on here that you have the clock tower brick and mortar, and there's other places where the brick is kind of failing. Did you have a plan for that brick? It's just from a safety issue of falling brick and cosmetic too.
And we went up there, I know there was one brick. That came out, I don't know, it might have been 15 feet or something, fell in the grassy area. And ironically, somebody notified me immediately, we went over there.
Okay,
We tuck pointed it ourselves as high as we could reach. We did a brick project here, wow, I think like 15 years ago. I think we spent, I don't remember, that was a large amount. But it was mainly around the athletic area, the problem we're really having, if you look at the cavity. The building itself, structure, it's the separating walls, the parapet walls, the walls
Right.
around the stadium, those types of walls. And there were engineering techniques that were tried with drip edges. You'll see some vents were even cut in them afterwards. Try to vent it to try to, but it's the climate we're in, you know. We go
Right.
from -20 to 40 degrees sun meltdown, and I mean, the tennis wall, the custodians are always out there cleaning it up there around the guy. It's just a battle.
so maybe something we need to look at and figure out what to do for a long term.
Well, yeah, again, it's not the structure.
No,
itself, it's
just-
those individual, we had some conversations about doing some other kind of sheeting over top of it. You know, cheapest route, but to try to pull the bricks out, insert bricks, retuck point everything.
Yeah,
We can look, further into
just
it.
because I mean, I know it's not, of all the things, you're so thorough, everything's so thorough, but this is the cosmetic thing that everyone sees.
It's a cosmetic thing, it's a very difficult cosmetic thing. I'll look back at your data. I don't want to throw the number out because I won't remember, it's a large number. And in fact, the brick is no longer manufactured,
Mhm.
they had to go mill the material out of the ground and special match the brick so that we can match the replacement, that's what we're up against.
So if we're talking about the brick wall that separates the tennis courts with the stadium, if we just demolish that, we could put up I mean, you can go change it if you want to, correct? I mean,
We could, but we have the scoreboard mounted up there, there's electrical infrastructure in that wall, there's footings. I mean, that's an option, or we could reface it with something. We could, could smear base it and then reface something, solid sheet, something,
Okay.
But there's a lot of time, we could look at that as cosmetic. and,
Right.
Structural.
The only thing that concerns me really with that wall is that the tennis courts are on the other side and our kids play tennis on those tennis courts, so it's like I don't want someone, like a kid tripping over a piece of brick in the middle of a mat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's cosmetic, I totally understand that.
I think our people do a pretty good job of policing that.
Yeah.
Right, Denise?
Yes.
All right, so the next item, is number 3 that Dr. Thompson just referred to. And I'm not gonna go through this, but except for the fact that if you look at this, all the items in green have already been completed, okay? Go to the last page. And at the top, it says partial. It says partial because it doesn't address items like what the power outage we had in these campus. It doesn't address address items like some emergency flood we might have. It's kind of planned items that you approved here as the Board of Education, okay? So there's lots of those other operating stuff or normal budget stuff that comes out and over that we address every single day, right? So completion to date, this point, 2004 is about 13 million, and moving forward, we're at about 14 million. And if you look at the bottom of your capital plan, that number should pretty well match, because that's the plan. The fluid plan that, you know, that we just talked about. Item number 5. I'm sorry, what's number 4? For the replacement vehicles. And these vehicles are used for a myriad of reasons, but, you know, not only snow plowing and salting. 3.5 miles of roadway, 2.5 miles of sidewalk, and over 1.2 million square feet of parking lot space. On the left column, you'll see the replacement forecast. So you see item number 1 is actually unit number 2 in the bottom right corner. There's a blended average for the average age of the fleet today. Now, I've replaced a lot of these vehicles over the years, probably all of them, okay? And here we are back again 20 years later. Now I have unit 2. If you look down in the chart there, unit 2 is an 18-year-old vehicle. Unit 8 is a 19-year-old vehicle. If you go back up to the mileage for unit 2, it only has 36,000 miles on it. But if you look at unit 8, it's 72,000. Jim, why would you recommend changing one that has less mileage than the other one? Because it has a different use and function, and the vehicle is in a different rear state. And I always do this in collaboration with our mechanic who works on the vehicles and understands this. But, you know, it's more rusty. It's the frames have issues. Where this other vehicle is older, but it's the and we'll talk a little bit about that. Unit 8's on the next fiscal year on your plan, and that is the vehicle that has a charging pack. It's the extended cab that the mechanics use when they go out. Seems like weekly for a bus issue on the roads, especially in the wintertime. So that one's on the schedule for the next fiscal year. Okay. Next sheet is data sheet. You've seen it before. It's just updated of our wonderful custodial service staff. Let's look at Denise. And this sheet is just reflective of the our staff and their locations and how we're staffed as a district as overall. Okay. At the bottom, there's a section there that says national averages. That's from American Schools and Universities. You've heard of it before. And that average is about 39,000 square feet. Perry local schools average, we're sitting at about 43,000 square feet. So we're more productive than the average. My intention from day one was always to put, and probably Denise, you've heard this before, as many resources that I could in custodial services for the safety of our students. From the best disinfectants to the best equipment that we can, and once there is a large footprint that has to be disinfected. The next sheet is 50 square footage data sheet. I think in one of our past meetings, somebody asked for it, so I've included it every year. And item number 7 is our budgets, and I will point you to page number 3. If you look at the bottom, we'll look at fiscal year 22, 23, and 24. And I will only say this because I did review this with Jen Capo beforehand, and Dr. Thompson. Jen said to me, "Geez, Jim, why is it that big jump?" You know, and I said, "That's a great question." And then we looked up here, and I remembered that, and Jack, you could help me with this, like we had an issue with our landscaping crew who did not want to fulfill the contract. At that time, they were telling us numbers larger than this. It was during budgeting. So I plugged larger of the number in, and then we went out for bid, and we were able to obtain the contract for pretty close on par with what we had prior, a few $1,000 more, and extended out 3 years. So that is a budget appropriate appropriation. So that jump, if you look from 23 to 25, if you can take 26 or 7,000 off of that, and then we're on par with increases of cost of living, and cost of goods, I should say. Cost of living, cost of goods. And the next pages are just supporting for more detailed items and why do we have to have it? For NFPA requirements, for the non-Department of Commerce, for EPA required inspections, and the like. The last item you have, oh no, it's not the last item. Actually, the facility operational schedule kind of ties into some of those required items. And I'll point this out. You've seen out the other ones. This one has 50 items on it. Some years there's 90 or 100, 70, it depends. You know what we have going. And this is a current tally and to where we're at today. Most of those items have been completed and will begin the next year again, right? And the last item is life cycles. You've seen this one, let's not put too much stock in Jackson Coker notes. But in the so let me just, I'll go through this real quick. This first page is your gross asset, okay, from the district. And by the way, skip to the last page. The last page, any facility planning today runs through the House School Facility Council, right? And these are from the 2023 design manual. What this is a blended average of the prices extrapolated off of section 8 at the bottom and blended for use in this data sheet, okay? So if we look at the first, and if you go back to page 1, when you're 2023, and square footage at the top, your total asset for replacement of the district is $281 million plus $1 million. Right? If you turn to page 2, square footage changes, it's for the campground and gives you the replacement value. You can look at the disciplines within the sheet, but it doesn't mean a whole lot on page 1 and 2. You have to go to the individual buildings, and that's why there's so many pages. Each building was constructed at a different time. Okay. Elementary, middle school, 1 year. So the private campus and other this building, Manchester Transportation, Manchester West. And so you'll see that some of the things I talked about earlier, and I'm on the elementary third page. And if you go down to light item 3, some of the lighting, 2017 upgrade, that was LED upgrades. Oh, the remaining life on it now, 19 years. But is that really correct? Because this sheet I use is from the AIA documents and unit formatting, okay? So, you know, I know that our LED lights are gonna give us a longer lifespan than that. And then, you know, look down through, you'll see we did some controls in 2005, those were updated. HVAC in 2006, and so on. So at this point, I will ask if anybody has any questions.
I would just say that this is extremely thorough and keeping the district up to date and current and everything is a massive undertaking, and it's appreciated how much effort you and your staff and everyone puts into it. It's a lot of information.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
There are very few surprises, so when there is a genuine surprise, we trust that you know what you're doing, and the recommendations that come to us, we feel like it'll be in great hands.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We've talked about preserving the building, but what about preserving you and all that knowledge that we have? Because that's what we really need to preserve. That's what preserves this.
Yeah. It's happened that quickly. If there are any questions in the future, you all have my email, feel free to email or call me at Dr. Thompson's approval.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Dehumidifier in the high school gym
Yes,
is, so I know this part's been ordered, I believe.
great question. So, yeah, I just found this out yesterday.
Okay,
The parts were ordered, it's a 11 Jarco unit, and we found other issues. So at this point, we will be procuring a new unit.
Okay.
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 We're out of that season now, basically, unless I think we're gonna have any big game, but we're going into heating. So it's not a rush. I know that committee went up a little bit in there, but we were, Mr. Haas, our maintenance gentleman here was, at my request, babysit that thing daily. I mean, he checked it.
Yeah.
Periodically, a couple times a day, and tweak the valves, so we maintain a constant temperature. Those boilers, they tamper and wring out the moisture for the gym. I designed that, I wouldn't recommend it, that's what we have, so, I'm seeking quotes.
Sure.
We are.
thank
And I started to say, if anybody had any questions or you want to call me or email me your name, I just would like to close. And thank the Board of Education for your support, Dr. Thompson. Capo, the OC and TCTCA leadership, did I get that right? And the administrative team for your continued support.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Jim.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Wow.
Jim.
That concludes our administrative update. Right,
Trying to take this.
That's a lot.
Page, so
Really good
pretty
information.
comprehensive.
Yeah. It's a good planning tool.
We definitely have to
I
present. this.
understand what's going on.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, see you tomorrow morning. right?
See you tomorrow morning.
What time?
Safety committee,
Yeah.
9.
9.
9 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I do.
Diageo's?
We're having something different.
Oh, somebody brings Diageo
Yeah,
to this.
safety
And Captain comes, so that's even better.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good one.
Well, all right, Gina, did anybody sign up for public participation? No, thank you. Consent agenda, have a motion,
So moved.
roll call, or questions? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dexter,
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes,
Mr. Lighted.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Dr. Thompson,
Thank you. A few personnel items as usual, approval appointment. The board is asked to approve the employment of the individuals listed for the position indicated pending successful completion of required employment paperwork, certification, training, and background check as recommended by the local superintendent. Under B, personnel approval of 23-24 transportation hours change. The board is asked to approve the change in contract hours for the employee noted as recommended by the local superintendent and director of transportation. This is just an addition. Our welding students are going to be able to work in the welding lab 5 days a week instead of 3. So it just adds
that's
a
awesome.
little bit of time on those routes. C, personnel approval appointment mentors. The board is asked to approve the employment of the individual listed for the position and rate of pay indicated for the 23-24 school year as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. Under D, personnel approval appointment 23-24 non-athletic supplemental. The board is asked to approve the individuals listed for the 23-24 non-athletic supplemental noted as recommended by the local superintendent and building principal. And E, personnel approval appointment 21st century CCLC. The board is asked to approve the employment of individuals listed for the 23-24 PHS 21st century CCLC grant positions and rate of pay indicated as recommended by the principal and superintendent. Funds for these positions will be paid out of federal grant funds awarded to the district as indicated and verified through a timesheet for the dates indicated below. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank Dr. Malcheski and her people for the great work on this agenda item, because remember the days when we first started 21st century and getting these together were some tough times, so nice work there. On F, personnel approval appointment independent study. The board is asked to approve the employment of the individual listed for the independent study supplemental position and rate of pay indicated pending for the 2023-24 school year as recommended by the local superintendent and building principal. Under G, personnel approval, employment athletic supplemental, the board is asked to approve the employment of the individual listed for the summer and 2023-24 athletic supplemental position and rate of pay indicated, pending successful completion of required employment paperwork, certification, training, and background check as recommended by the local superintendent and athletic director. Under H, personnel approval, appointment of student worker, the board is asked to approve the employment of the student listed for the 23-24 position and rate of pay indicated, not to exceed 700 hours as recommended by the local superintendent and director of communications. I, personnel approval, appointment substitutes. The board is asked to approve the individuals noted for the 23-24 daily substitute positions that are listed as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. And J, approval of out-of-state travel, NASSA. The board is asked to authorize out-of-state travel to Washington, D.C. for Robert Nizzi to attend the National Association of Secondary School Administrators Illuminate Conference and 2023 Principal of the Year event from October 18th to the 20th, 2023, as recommended by the local superintendent. All expenses are paid for by the NASSP and there's no cost to the district. Okay, approval of superintendent's report. This concludes my report.
Thank you. So motion,
Like,
questions or discussion?
I do have a question with the Washington DC trip. So I see that our counselor will be going, our middle school counselor. So is there a plan in place for while she's out for what is it, 3 days? If a student is in need of such services that she would normally be able to give that student?
Yeah, anytime that the counselors are out, we kind of utilize the other counselors in the other.
Okay, so the other building. Perfect.
We also, Mr. Newman, our district social worker, we moved his office to the middle school to be more accessible for middle school students, so it's actually just a couple doors down from Mrs. Cuevas now, so.
Okay,
That's a great building.
thank you.
Just, this is just, clerical, on the substitutes. Nikki Chaconi is listed twice, so maybe we just need to cross one other. Have fun in DC. Coming up fast.
Speaking in Columbus. October 1st. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilk,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidich,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston.
Yes,
Mr. Tebow, you're up.
Thank you. A, approval of financial report. The board is asked to approve the financial reports from August 2023 as recommended by the chief financial officer. B, contracts and agreements, Perry Nuclear Power Plant and the PAC. The board is asked to approve the agreement between, Perry Nuclear Power Plant for PAC membership of PNDP employees, retirees, subcontractors, and their immediate families from September 1st, 2023 through July 31st, 2026 at a cost of $30,000 as recommended by the chief financial officer. And C, approval of expenditure CRS Metalworks Inc. The board is asked to approve the expenditure in the amount of $348,500 to CRS Metalworks Inc. for the high school welding hub renovation to include contract A, alternate A, floor refinish, alternate A2, wall paint, and alternate A6 window, as recommended by the chief financial officer and the director of maintenance and operations. And this concludes my chief financial officer report.
Have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, question?
I have a question on the welding hub bid, so are these things that like come in as like a package deal? Because just on alternate A2 wall finishes rooms, the one is like significantly higher than the other company, but they have to all be the same company.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
just pick and choose.
So overall, it's still a savings.
Yes,
Okay,
And this is in regards to the welding lab that we've been having ongoing discussions about. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that this isn't new.
mhm.
We've been having these discussions for months about the welding lab. Okay, any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidich,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes,
and Mr. Welch.
Yes.
Thank you. Any unfinished business?
we should at some point revisit we talked a little bit about the April 8th thing and what the plan was going to be, so at some point we need to get an update on that. So parents can plan if they're gonna be home.
We're working through the ESC, we were hoping that the governor was going to relieve us of the local decision-making
Mhm.
process on this.
He does
and,
not like
we have, as of yet, have not heard from, that office. But, we are looking into it, and we actually, 2 months ago, emergency services came to one of the superintendent meetings and talked about the concerns. And the number one concern is traffic. Because there's quite a following that hit. And based on where we are, it's likely, in the time that it's going to happen is a dismissal. And so it's likely that, there's gonna be some horror stories about traffic and potential accidents and things going on during that time. So, for safety reasons, it would be my recommendation that our kids are not out of the road, or our employees are not. So, we'll probably have to look at doing something different on that day.
An after-school baseball game under the lights too.
Yeah, those are gonna be the questions, but.
Yeah.
The governor might, end those decision-making things with a calamity, just calling it a calamity.
Okay.
And shutting
Just
us
something
all
to keep
down.
ourselves informed.
Thank you for bringing it up.
All right, so under new business, the first item we had on here was the state of the schools address, and Dr. Thompson mentioned earlier tonight in the meeting that, Dr. Melchesky is going to give a state of the schools in the county, for the Lake County, when all the schools do that at the, chamber meeting,
Right.
on
That'll be-
September 27th, right?
Right.
Okay,
And that'll be a limited address where we only get 5 slides, and it'll be in accordance with, Madison and Riverside and Painesville City. They'll all be giving a little piece about what's going on.
that focuses on, career readiness and what you're
Career
doing
readiness,
at
right?
district level programming.
Exploration, career exploration.
And so, I thought it was good that we had, because we're in line with everybody else kind of getting their state of the school, so we had our state of the schools sort of from Jim Smith as it relates to facilities. So it's appropriate. And, fiscal and finance and all that, and programming from our district, so having all those buckets full all the time is fantastic. Thank you. All right, next item. We are scheduling an additional board meeting on October 10th. Special meeting.
Yeah, special meeting,
It's a
we're
special
going
meeting.
into executive session and conducting, I'm gonna make sure we're gonna conduct no other business during that meeting.
That's October 10th. And then, we need to talk about the OSB Capital Conference. It's November 12th to the 15th.
Wondering who's planning on attending?
I plan to attend.
I am.
Yes. Yes, I'm just trying to, in my head, I'm thinking the day I have to be there, which is separate, is after the conference, so. Yes, thank you.
We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, homecoming parade plans, that's this Friday night. Anyone planning on, are we getting
I
in
will-
flow? What are we doing?
Well, we have a list of trucks in here, we could.
I want truck unit number 15 that has a lifespan of.
Yeah.
Beast, you want the beast?
I want the beef.
That's
This
always fun.
Friday?
It's
Yeah.
this Friday.
Yep.
5:30.
5:30 is the parade kickoff.
Start time.
So fun.
So who's in?
I'm in.
I'm in.
It's my favorite
Two.
day.
I'm ready to throw.
Maybe,
Maybe.
I've got to play.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
you're in?
Oh, yeah.
Can we get one truck?
A truck and a gator, or just one truck?
We like the truck when we can all sit together and throw
We-
candy,
Last couple years, we've just done a truck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a
Okay,
truck.
Just a pickup truck,
but a really good one.
it'll be shined, I'm sure.
Jim likes to have it all ready. What's the weather supposed to be like
It's
Friday?
supposed to be nice, I think.
Let's,
I think it's just a really nice weekend all the way around.
all right,
That's my favorite.
okay, so that's at 5:30, right?
This Friday.
This Friday,
5:30.
76 is partly sunny.
perfect,
Perfect.
better than the rainy day we had.
No bees.
That's
No
the
bees.
advantage of being a little bit earlier in the year.
All right, any other correspondence and announcements? I don't have any other communications that came in to me directly. I know we've had some in the district. Questions or emails and things and record requests and things being worked on, so those are taking place. Upcoming events and meetings. There will be no classes on any OEA day as usual, Friday, this year it's Friday the 13th, appropriate. The next regular board meeting is the 17th of October, not to be confused with the special meeting that's October 10th. And that'll be here at the Charter Conference Center. Anybody else have any other announcements or,
Nope, homecoming dance this weekend, so everyone be safe.
any public participation, Gina? Thank you. All right, so I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lydic,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Ms. Foley.
Yes, thank you.